Today, we delve into the thrilling chess encounters that have made Magnus Carlsen a living legend. With a reign as world champion that spans over a decade and a remarkable peak rating of 2,882, Magnus has consistently demonstrated his unrivaled competency. But amidst his countless victories, which games have truly defined his extraordinary career? His reign commenced with the 5th game of the 2013 World Championship, pitting him against none other than the Indian superstar Vishwanath Anand. After 4 drawn games, both players were eager to break the deadlock. Opting for a change in strategy, Magnus' white surprised everyone by playing c4 on his first move, deviating from his usual knight to f3 opening. Anand responded with e6, setting the stage for a compelling encounter in the Queen's Gambit declined opening. Anand seizes the initiative, delivering a check with his bishop to b4, prompting Magnus to retreat his knight to c3. Black responds with c5, and White extends an invitation by playing a3, enticing Black to capture the knight. Anand, however, opts to retain the powerful bishop pair and develops his knights, while Magnus positions his queen to d3, signaling his intention to castle queenside. Following a pawn trade, Anand's knight boldly ventures into g4, eyeing White's dark square bishop for capture. In response, Magnus executes his castling move, and Anand commits a slight inaccuracy by withdrawing his bishop to c7. Capitalizing on this opportunity, Magnus executes a series of trades, first the knights, then the queens, leading to an endgame where Black possesses the bishop pair, but White boasts a significant space advantage and greater activity. The players engage in a tactical dance, maneuvering their pieces to gain more active positions on the board. Magnus makes a bold move with c5, aiming to dislodge the Black bishop and establish a powerful knight outpost on d6. However, Anand launches a counterattack with f5, leading to a sequence of trades and eventually capturing the pawn on e4. In a stroke of brilliance, White executes an in-between move with b7, compelling Black to keep their pawns separated, setting them up as vulnerable targets for White. Though the material remains temporarily equal, White's rooks dominate the board with heightened activity, while Black faces potential weaknesses. Anand boldly advances with g5 and later h5, gaining space on the board but inadvertently exposing his pawns to vulnerability. On the other hand, Magnus takes a cautious approach, refraining from pushing his own pawns, patiently awaiting a misstep from Vishwanath. The players continue to deftly maneuver their pieces until White manages to eliminate Black's g5 pawn, transitioning into a rook and bishop endgame with an extra pawn for White. Despite the game's previous balance, Anand commits a significant blunder by playing rook to c1. This triggers a forced variation, leaving Magnus with a 2-pawn advantage on opposite sides of the board. Although the position might be drawable against some opponents, Magnus Carlsen's prowess shines through as he transforms a small advantage into a winning one. Anand finds himself unable to halt the advancement of both pawns, leading to his resignation after h4, ultimately conceding the first game of the match to Magnus. It's moments like these that have earned Magnus Carlsen the nickname the Endgame Beast. His ability to extract maximum value from the smallest advantages is truly unparalleled. In this brilliant display of endgame play, Magnus Carlsen firmly solidifies his reputation as a masterful chess strategist, capable of squeezing water out of rock and securing victory with finesse and precision. Now here's the most awe-inspiring game of the match, the one that catapulted Magnus Carlsen to worldwide fame. With a commanding 5-point lead over Anand's 3, Magnus stands on the cusp of becoming the next world champion. The stakes couldn't be higher for Anand, who desperately needs a win to stay in the championship race. In this pivotal encounter, Anand takes the white pieces and initiates the game with d4. Magnus confidently responds with knight f6, setting the stage for an intense battle. As the game unfolds with knight c3 and bishop b4, the Nimzo Indian defense comes into play. Anand, trailing by 2 points, plays f3, signaling his determination to mount a powerful offensive. Not one to be swayed, Magnus counters with d4, forcing some strategic trades as Anand plays pawn to a3. As the dust settles, Magnus executes a masterful move, pushing c4 and effectively closing down the queenside. This maneuver grants Black a clear space advantage and secures a safer position for his king, setting the stage for an electrifying clash of wits and strategies. With the bishop pair at his disposal and a menacing kingside attack in the works, White retains a formidable advantage. As Magnus responds with knight c6, Anand unleashes a daring assault with g4, hoping to deter Magnus from castling and subjecting him to a relentless pawn storm. Undeterred, Magnus takes a moment to contemplate his options and bravely decides to castle anyway, displaying his unwavering confidence. Meanwhile, Anand continues to develop his pieces and fortifies his position through castling. On the other side of the board, Magnus is far from passive, seeking to stir up trouble by deploying a formidable knight on b3. He meticulously advances his b and a pawns, strategically securing a massive advantage on the queen side. As the tension escalates, Anand launches a bold move, g5, aiming to checkmate Magnus with lightning speed. Sensing the urgency, Magnus retreats his knight, while also eliminating one of White's attackers by capturing the bishop on c1. A crafty rook a6 move by Magnus hints at his intentions to shift the focus to the opposite side of the board. With the game hanging in the balance, White responds with f4, seeking to counter Black's advances. Undeterred, Magnus seizes the opportunity to create a passed pawn, executing a calculated b4 move. However, what Anand should ideally do at this critical juncture is play f5, preparing to double his rooks on the f-file and maintain his relentless attack on the king side. Yet, White falters, making an inaccuracy by capturing the pawn on b4 and choosing to exchange a pair of rooks. In a surprising twist, Black counters with b5, further complicating the situation. Anand takes his time to assess the board and eventually opts for queen to f4, with hopes of delivering a checkmate before Magnus can conjure a new queen. In a masterful display of defense, Magnus brings his knight back into action, fortifying his position against White's relentless assault. As the tension reaches its peak, White finally executes f6, and Magnus calmly responds with g6, expressing confidence in his ability to weather White's incoming threats. With strategic precision, Magnus deploys knight e8 to safeguard the Black queen from a potential checkmate on g7. However, this move permanently removes Black's knight and rook from the game, setting the stage for a captivating tactical exchange. Undeterred, Anand presses forward with queen h6, while Magnus counters with b2, employing a clever tactic to threaten the promotion of a new queen and halt White's attack. Nevertheless, Anand remains unfazed and executes the astonishing rook to f4, allowing Magnus to promote his pawn to a queen with a check. Displaying unwavering confidence in his calculations, Magnus swiftly seizes the opportunity to eliminate the pawn. In a critical moment that could sway the entire game, there exists a solitary move for White that keeps the battle alive: bishop to f1. This strategic move forces Black's hand, compelling them to play queen to d1. Responding with rook to h4, Black prepares to sacrifice their queen with queen to h5, setting the stage for an intense and unpredictable continuation. In this gripping position, both players still have viable chances to secure victory. However, in a twist of fate, Vishwanthan Anand makes a fateful miscalculation, leading to a monumental blunder. Instead of playing bishop to f1, Anand opts for knight to f1, and this turns the tide of the game. Anand had anticipated Magnus to follow with queen to d1, planning to capture the queen with his rook and then execute knight to e3, with the intent to either checkmate the Black king or coerce Magnus into relinquishing yet another queen. In a stunning turn of events, Vishwanthan Anand finds himself blindsided by Magnus's next move, queen to e1, a masterstroke that would have been inconceivable had the knight been on g3. This ingenious move spells the end of the game in an instant. After rook to h4 by Anand, Magnus deftly seizes the opportunity and captures the rook with his queen, promptly thwarting White's entire attack, while simultaneously gaining a decisive advantage with an extra piece. The gravity of the situation becomes apparent to Anand, and he comes to the realization that his position is untenable. With no viable counterplay in sight, Anand concedes defeat, recognizing the brilliance of Magnus' strategic play. The players shake hands, acknowledging the outcome, and in just 28 moves, Magnus emerges victorious in this enthralling contest. As the decisive game unfolds, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Everything hangs in the balance. A single outcome will determine the fate of the World Championship title. With the white pieces, Magnus makes his opening move, e4, setting the stage for a thrilling encounter. In response, Anand opts for the Sicilian defense, choosing one of the best openings to mount a formidable challenge and seek the victories he needs to retain his crown. For Magnus, a win or even a draw in this crucial match would catapult him to the pinnacle of the chess world. claiming the coveted title of Chess World Champion. On the other hand, Anand faces an uphill battle, requiring 3 consecutive wins to salvage his championship reign. The pressure is palpable, and both players are acutely aware that every move carries immense significance. With White's masterful control of the center and the readiness to castle, the board is set for a dynamic contest. Meanwhile, Black's development may be slightly behind, but the bishop pair adds an element of flexibility to their position. Opting for a more measured approach, Anand chooses knight to f6, followed by e6, resembling the hedgehog formation, an intriguing choice that lays the groundwork for gradual positional gains. As the game progresses, both players meticulously execute their plans. Anand completes castling, fortifying his king's safety, while Magnus places his knight at the heart of the board, poised for future maneuvers. A critical moment arises as Magnus decides to capture Black's bishop on c6 with his knight, setting the stage for intriguing exchanges. Anand's decision to trade White's formidable dark square bishop may seem like a reasonable move, but as pieces are exchanged, the game edges closer to a potential draw. With rook to e3, Black faces a pivotal moment. Playing g5 and initiating a kingside attack could create opportunities, but instead, Anand opts for a more cautious approach with rook to d7. However, Anand's fortunes take a turn for the worse as he plays queen to g5, a critical blunder that grants White the opportunity to play e5 and seize the pawn on d6. Although Anand manages to win the pawn back, it comes at a steep price, trading all the heavy pieces. As more pieces exit the board, the game enters a phase where winning becomes increasingly challenging, particularly against the endgame prowess of a formidable opponent like Magnus Carlsen. As the game progresses into the endgame, the players bring their kings closer and maneuver their knights strategically. Despite an equal material balance, White possesses a pawn majority on the queen side, granting an advantage and the potential to play for a win. With the stakes high, Magnus carefully dedicates 30 minutes to calculating his moves, ultimately opting for a variation that involves sacrificing his knight. However, his precise calculation allows him to create a new queen just in the nick of time, while Black also promotes a queen. In this critical phase, White secures 3 pawns in exchange for the sacrificed knight, a configuration that offers ample resources to secure a draw. In a brilliant display of endgame prowess, Magnus skillfully finds a way to trade the queens, effectively concluding the game on the spot. With the queens off the board, Black's chances of checkmating the White king diminish, resulting in a deadlock. The game concluded in a hard-fought draw, leaving both contenders with their hands held high. As they shook hands, it marked the end of an epic showdown, but also the beginning of a new era in the world of chess. Magnus Carlsen, the young prodigy, demonstrated exceptional skill and composure beyond his years, earning him the coveted title of world champion at a mere 22 years old. This historic victory solidifies his place among the game's all-time greats. If you're craving more of Magnus Carlsen's genius on the chessboard, we have just the treat for you. Click the link on your screen to watch the super fast wins in Magnus Carlsen's career, where we delve into the exhilarating moments when Magnus showcased his lightning speed tactics and outmaneuvered his opponents with astonishing speed. Thank you for joining us on this incredible chess journey, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video. Happy chess watching!